We have been following this morning Pool A and B. We will be following now Pool B, C, and D. And I'm always Alessia Santero, and I'm here with Grandmaster Roland Pruisers. How is going?
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back to Pool B in this case. As you could see, Pool A has already finished for the first 3 rounds today. So we will focus on Pool B. So we Pool B already started and they are now working on their third round. So we are going to show you the standings of what's going on in Pool B shortly. And of course, we're also going to take a look at the pairings. Of course, what would be interesting pairings to take a look at. Before all that, maybe it would be a good idea just first to remind everyone what the format is of this whole event, so that the newcomers who didn't follow the broadcast this morning know what's exactly going on.
Sure. I mean, we are covering the FIDE Online Olympiad 2020. It is a huge event. Over 163 teams and over 1,500 players are taking place. And teams are split into 5 divisions according to strengths and further divided into pools. We are currently now at Division 4, that has 50 teams playing and divided into 5 pools, 10 teams each, and the 3 best team of each pool will advance to the next division, that is division number 3. So what is very nice about this format is that it's not the classical national team, but the team is really multi it's hard to define it, but
Multi-gender, multi-age, it has all that stuff.
yeah, exactly. It shows really the country in all its phases. In fact, features 2 open boards, 2 women's board, 1 junior male board, and 1 junior female board. So 6 players, 6 board per team, and these are the compositions of that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really love about this event. Once again, I've said this yesterday a bunch of times, and today I will as well, of course. Yeah, so it's not just the best players of the country, it's also the best youth players of the country and the best women of the country. And that makes it a really universal Olympiad where, yeah, it's
I
all
like this.
facets of
The teams are universal.
yeah, universal teams. There you go. So I like that the teams are universal. So, like Alessia said, 2 open boards, 2 women's boards, and 2 youth boards, and they play against each other. So the youth board plays against the youth board of the other team, etc.
Yes.
Right. So base division. They are the base division. Sorry, it's 4th division, of course. We are now in Division 4. The top 3 teams of each pool will move on to the next division, and yeah, some exciting teams are of course participating in Division 4. Yeah, and we've already seen some upsets in Pool A, and so I'm really thinking that this weekend is going to be a lot of fun in that regard to watch, because there are countries that I thought just
Easy
would be
way.
at the bottom of the would get an easy win against another country, but there are so many blunders, so many last minute changes where in winning positions tricks were happened and then suddenly they're lost instead of winning. It has been amazing so far, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's go a bit into Pool B. No,
Yeah.
the game are already started actually, but before following them, let's understand where we are, what is happening. So let's see what happened in the previous rounds, and here we are. Yes, this was the first round of Pool B that we discussed actually in the previous hour. But let's just mention the team that won this first round. Namibia, Syria, Qatar against Cyprus. This won the Pool C of base division. Mozambique and a draw between Malta and Pakistan. But let's go on, because here we have the round 2 that was played while we were resting, while we had a short break. And Malta won, Cyprus won, Syria won, and there was a draw between Kuwait and Rwanda. So let's go also on pairings 3. And now, Roland, what do you think is the most exciting game of this round 3?
Yeah, it's a tough one. We'll show the standings, of course, also shortly. Because yeah, mine are about the standings because we have the number 1 against the number 10. Now, on paper, that doesn't really sound exciting because, well, Syria is the number 1 at the moment, and Uganda is the number 2, but is the number 10. Sorry. So, but Uganda has a pretty strong team actually, and they have played the first 2 rounds against also really strong teams. They had to play against Mozambique first of all, and then they lost, I think, against Cyprus or Malta, if I'm not mistaken. So Uganda has already played against 2 very strong teams, and I still think that they have a good shot of the 3rd place, for example. So I'm pretty curious to see if they can bounce back against the number 1 Syria. Syria is actually overwhelmingly the favorite in this pool, by the way. On rating, they have their average rating is way higher than all the other countries here. But still, I think it would be the match to watch. And
Yes.
otherwise, Malta, actually, that we could also do that, Alessia, because Malta is very close to Italy, I believe, right?
Yes, the Malta and Cyprus are two islands in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yep,
Uh,
Mediterranean Sea.
yes, so Malta is more near to it, is closer to Italy. Yeah, could be a possibility. Let's shortly have a look at
Yeah.
the standings. Like this, we understand what is going on here. So at the moment, Syria, Malta, Pakistan are the first 3. Syria has 4 points, and Malta and Pakistan won 1 game, and drew the second one.
All right.
So yeah, I mean there are many interesting possibilities. This is round 2, and yeah, Malta, also Syria, Uganda. Okay, let's do Malta, Cyprus.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that will be the most exciting one. Cyprus and Malta also one of the favorites, 2 of the favorites to qualify for the next round. So that's absolutely also a good choice. Yeah, I think that will be exciting. If we take a look at the average rating, then they are pretty well matched, I believe. Let me check that real quick. Yep, they are very well matched. I think that Malta is on rating the slight favorite though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially because of the 2 women's board. Actually, the women's board on Malta have got the highest rating difference in this whole match. And also the first board of Malta is very, very strong on paper, 400 rating difference versus the player from Cyprus. So yeah, I think that Malta is the favorite in this match, and that but Cyprus was overwhelmingly the winner of Pool C in the base division. So you could be definitely sure that Cyprus is going to put up a good fight. So yeah, this will be the most exciting match to watch, I believe. So if we have the games, then we're definitely
Yes.
going to go into that. So just a second for that.
Sure. I guess here we are looking at the first board of the match. White pieces is FIDE Mustard Geoffrey Borg against black pieces, a name that we already heard last division, the candidate master Constantinus with black pieces. Here the opening was a Nimzo Indian with G3. Yes, was definitely a Nimzo Indian. And let's see, the current position is here. This is the current position. It seems like, the pawns are material is equal, but white has the bishop pair. And in such an open position, I think that bishop pair is is a good advantage, but actually here we have something very concrete. I mean, white is threatening to take on f6, and black cannot simply move the knight because black has to be careful about the g7 pawn.
Yeah, you're right there. Black certainly has a lot of problems here. The bishop pair is very strong. The f6 knight cannot move because of the g7 pawn. Well, you could play knight h5, but the knight is very badly placed on h5.
But maybe something like f3 and g4 could already be quite tricky.
Exactly, could already be very problematic for black. So, and also a move like queen f5 is not exactly working because then the b7 pawn is actually going to fall. So, yeah, however you look at this, white is clearly in the lead in this game. So Jeffrey Borg going strong for for which team again?
No, Cyprus, Malta.
For Malta, of course. Yeah, I was a bit confused because the Malta flag looks really like the Bahrain flag. So I was a bit.
That's true. That's true. I also thought the same. That looks really similar. Actually, I mean, what is the difference? Maybe you can see, because the flag of Chess.com is extremely small, but maybe you can tell us the difference of this flag if you check the flag, the bigger flag.
Yeah, I think that the white part is a little bit more to the right, so it's overwhelming the red part, and then the red part has got these shark fins, and it's nice. The Bahrain flag, I mean.
You mean the Bahrain? Okay.
Yeah, that's the difference with the Malta flag. I think Malta also has a little star on the left in the white, but
it's a star or a cross?
Or a cross. Yeah, cross, I guess, a cross.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not wearing my glasses, by the way. So.
No worries.
Anyways, yeah. So I think we should move on to the next game. Georg, so
sure.
Going strong, looking very good. Let's see if we can find board 2.
No, this somewhere. Is not board 2. Yeah. So I don't know which one is board 2, but yeah, I guess should be this because I see a candidate master with the white pieces. Yeah, so Ioannis Damianou from Cyprus against Matthew Fleury from Malta, and we have a queen endgames. We have a queen endgames here.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is going on there, Alessia?
So there are no. I need to be slow. Sorry. So to count the pawns, this equal material, and okay, so now we gotta see the position. The only stuff that black has to be careful is to get a queen to d8. This might be unfortunate using Roland vocabulary. Both player has a pass pawn, but what is a fact, I think, is that this strong. I think at one of my European and World Championship, I was told that this is big queen and this is small queen.
Big queen and small.
Big queen and small queen.
It's correct, of course. Yeah, the queen on e4 is a lot stronger than the queen on d2 at the moment. And I like white's structure a bit better because the c4 pawn is a protected pass pawn. So for example, if the queens are getting traded, then white will win the pawn ending. But yeah, the problem here is of course the queens and the pawn on d4. I think the activity of black's queen more than compensates for that structure. Maybe black is already even better here. It's going to be tough defending this. For example, a move like queen h1 would be interesting perhaps.
Queen h1.
Yeah, or queen b1 to try and grab some pawns at some point. For example, because if white has to play queen e2, then the queen could go to b1 or h1 and try to attack one of the pawns.
Okay. Okay, but white played c5. So what about the endgame? If let's say black plays h6, c6, queen takes a6, and queen takes d4. What about this endgame?
It's looking very good for black because black has queen c2 in the end, winning the b3 pawn. So
yeah, that's true. So for concrete reasons.
Yeah, Exactly. So in general, such an ending should be a draw, but if black can win the b3 pawn,
Sure.
then it's very good for black, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so h6 is on the board, which makes a lot of sense because, yeah, black needs to solve
Oh,
the problem of the. What's up?
no. I just clicked something away. Right.
All right, I
Yeah.
thought something happened. Oh wait, what happened?
Nothing happened. I am just being professional here, doing everything correctly. Okay, let's go. So this ending is better for the Malta player so far. So Malta, in the first game, um,
I guess was also better with white. I'm shortly back in
yeah,
the first game. I see that we have, okay, is a pawn up already. White is a pawn up, and the structure on the king side looks also not perfect. So white is doing well here.
yeah, exactly. So Malta going strong for now. In the first board was actually a huge rating difference. Jeffrey Borg has about 400 to 350 rating points more than his opponent. So yeah, so that was to be expected.
Yeah. So let's move to the women board. This should be the first women board. Here we have with the white pieces a women FM, Oana, Caruana. We have Caruana. Caruana is
Oh,
playing for Malta.
of course, of course. Yeah. So yeah, let's take a look then.
So Caruana is a women FM. We can say that.
Yeah. Well, don't say that to Fabi. That would be a bit harsh. But
Well, I mean, I'm not saying a wrong suffix. I say that Caruana is a women
yeah,
FM.
yeah. Of
And
course.
then
Oana
okay.
Caruana is a women as
Caruana Onana. So Caruana Onana. I was doing Caruana here.
well. Yeah, she's a piece up against what is it? One pawn actually. So it looks like Caruana Onana is yeah, just winning here.
Yes, I
The dark
like.
squared bishop is doing very well. It seems like this should be pretty much over actually. Also rook c1 or queen c1. Queen c1 also perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Going strong. Yeah, doing well actually. So there's a big difference also in rating between the women's boards in rating. So in this case, the rating difference is actually about 400, 500 actually. Caruana has a rating of 1873, and Loanidis has a rating of 1375.
All right. So
So
I'm very
big
happy
rating
to
difference.
call Caruana with she, using the pronoun she. And so she's doing really great here. And probably she will win. White will win here.
Yeah, it's really looking like that. The rook is more active. The bishop can come to c3. It should be over. Yeah. All
Is
right.
over.
Let's move
So
to the next
let's
game.
move to, yes, sure. And should be the second women board here. We have Alice Liu Ioannidis with the white pieces against Jamie Farrugia with the black pieces.
Yeah. It's Jamie versus Alice. Let's see. So white is a rook down for. So yeah, once again, a very good board for Malta. It seems a rook up versus not enough compensation for sure. Although the bishop on e4 is under attack.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that bishop can make it out.
Wait, but there is a rook.
Hmm?
I mean,
There's a
did
rook.
you say that black is a rook up?
Yeah,
Ah,
black's a rook up.
okay, I just missed this piece. I thought, okay. So I said, okay, that bishop is attacked. White is a pawn up, so white is doing
Mhm.
great. Then I saw the evaluation. I thought, oh, one rook is missing, and now I understand everything.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you have those moments, yeah, when you have like a perfectly normal position, you're looking at it and you think, well, should be fine, and then you realize, wait, but there's no rook on the board.
Yes, there is no queen, there is something missing. Yeah, so definitely white lost somehow the queen there. So
Yeah, it's hard to it's still not so easy to play this. I mean, white does have some pressure with the annoying f6 pawn, and the knight on e5 is a fantastic piece there. So there are still a little bit of troubles here, but in general, of course, a rook is too much to.
yeah, but I think now white did a huge favor to black, changing the knight. I mean, you said that knight is very strong on e5, and boom,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
took on g6.
yeah. It's
So
Alice absolutely does not agree. She wants the bishop.
yeah,
Yeah.
she heard you,
Well,
but not.
she wants to grab the pawn on c7, I guess, but after that, the f6 pawn will fall, and it should be all the lines are opened. It should be over.
Yeah,
All right, so Malta, all the boards we've checked so far are in favor of Malta. So Malta doing very, very well against the base division champion, Cyprus.
yeah,
Let's see. Let's move on to the next game.
sure. Here we have Jack with the white pieces from Malta against Chrysostomus from Cyprus. Oh, this position looks like white is an exchange down, but there are two pawns for the exchange. So it's always
Yeah.
very hard to evaluate when is enough compensation, and because there is up the line. No, the two extra pawns could be very dangerous against a rook,
Hmm.
especially if they are a lot pushed. But how to
Yeah.
understand when is better, when is worse to have bishop and two pawns?
Yeah, the exchange sacrifices are always very hard to understand. It's always very concrete, very dynamic, and but in this case, I feel like it. Well, before the last move, I thought it was very easy to see who's better. But after Black will win the pawn on b5, I'm definitely sure that Black is doing really great here. Before Black won the pawn on
Yes,
b5,
let's say it's move 41. No, rook a5 was
yeah,
played,
okay,
and
5.
instead of e5, what moves could be played?
Well, just rook b1. And if you play rook b1, then black has no active possibilities at all. It's f6 is easily countered, and white can simply play e5, get the king closer of king e3, king d4. It's white is in total control there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a pity that white gave up the b5 pawn, because if the b5 pawn falls, it's not necessarily the losing pawn, the losing of the pawn that hurts white. It's the active rook on b5. If the rook can get to b2, start taking the pawn on a2, or harass the king and the bishop on the second rank, it's going to be a lot more tough to make use of those pawns. And actually, I think that black's already really close to winning after rook takes b5. So
Yes,
yeah,
and this,
unfortunately.
yes, we are going. While you were explaining why the rook on b5 is very powerful, it's not just about the pawn but the active rook. The game went on, and we are now at bishop c6, attacking the rook, but black already took back the b5 pawn, the a2 pawn. The king is now must be on the first rank, and yeah, black is really doing well. The only risk is the pawn on d7, but I guess that
Mhm.
black has everything under control. Let's see how it went. Rook d
It's not
rook.
so easy yet, but I think that after d7, the idea is rook e1 or rook e8. And I was thinking maybe rook e2 would save it, but I think black should have pushed. I think black should have played a3 instead of rook e2.
Yeah, because if rook e1,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just rook d2.
Just rook d2, and if rook d e8, then just a2. I think white is just a bit too late there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And incredible how important is the tempo sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The tempo.
So okay, yeah. After
Oh,
this fight, I mean, white lost here. The problem of rook e2 would be a good defensive move, but loses the pawn, the a4 pawn that is quite advanced. So, but somehow here black managed to win in few moves. Oh, mouse slip, rook f5. Not the greatest square.
Boy. Yeah. That's definitely once again a mouse slip. I mean,
Oh my god.
yeah.
But
that has to be
wait.
a mouse slip.
I mean,
That's so unfortunate. You really
what's
hate
the
this.
time, Roland?
Excuse me?
What's at the time? And I know the time, white times. 11 minutes.
Oh, like this. Oh, yeah. That's true. White also had so much time to play. Yeah, another move than rook f5. So yeah, I guess Jack was just a bit too excited to maybe to win this game with rook e5 and rook e8 perhaps. But I still think even after rook e8, it's a draw.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Yeah, because black can at least take on d7.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate, of course. He had a draw in hand. He defended very well, but then he lost because of a mouse slip. Yeah, that's the only. Yeah, pros online pro chess players are saying it's a part of the game. You just should have your mouse motor skills under control. But others say it's just bad luck. Yeah, I don't know who I agree with. I think it's both.
I think sometimes it's just bad luck.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's bad luck, and if it happens too often, then you could say it's skills.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. We've got another win we've got a win for Cyprus this time. So that means that Cyprus at least has one win.
Yeah, okay, we have some results, so let's shortly watch at this. Here we have the female junior board. That is a victory for Malta. Milena won against Danai. And so is 1 point for Malta. Then we have 1 point for Cyprus. Then we have here, this is the female board, the second female board, and we have another point for Malta.
Caruana won her game. Yeah, so the standings are 3-1 to Malta against Cyprus, and only the first two boards are still playing. And of course, we have Malta's super strong board one player, Jeffrey Borg, against Konstantinos Michalidis. So I'm fearing for Cyprus. I think this is going to be a win for Malta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which means that, I mean, Malta was already doing quite good, I think. Let's have shortly a look at the scoreboard. And of the pool B, yes, and Malta won won one match and drew the second one. So Malta is doing pretty good already. But yeah, for sure, we are still at the very beginning of this poll. So we're still at the beginning of that.
Yeah. So all chances still for all players, for all teams. Yeah, we do have some other results as well, of course. So we have Qatar already winning the match against Kuwait with 4-0. They cannot lose the match or draw the match anymore. Syria already 3-0 ahead against Uganda. I thought that might be a very exciting match to watch as well, but so far Syria is just knocking it out of the park. 2 first round wins, and also the second round is just going very well for Syria. And then Mozambique, Pakistan, still 0-0 as far as I can see. Yeah.
Yes, the chat is very happy that Caruana won in the female board. But yeah, it's another Caruana, guys.
Yeah, they're not related, right? I don't think they are, right?
Okay, I don't think there is no... Caruana is no... I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the wife, I don't know.
The wife of Caruana. I don't know. Let's ask the experts in the chat. They will probably know if Caruana's married or not. Yeah. Let's have some
Yes.
gossip kings and queens in the chat, please. All right.
Yes.
What else? Yeah, it's still Malta and Cyprus is undecided. I'm very curious about board two, actually.
Yes.
So,
Where is the board two? I think the board two is over actually. Yeah, we have a result in board two.
okay.
Black won here, and is one of the results that we got at the end. Black won. Ah no. Wait? How did Black won here? No, timeout.
Timeout, he disconnected.
Oh,
Oh dear. And what was this position though? B2, king takes, king c6. Oh, it was a draw. There was
was
a
just
draw.
a draw, no?
Yeah, this was a draw for both players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. That would be that Matthew his 400 rating points more than Loanes. So that's too bad. That's too bad. So that means that Ioannis won this game, right?
Mm,
Or
yeah.
did Black win?
No, the black one.
Okay, Black won.
Yes, the
Oh.
white time is 0, 0, 0.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So that sucks for Cyprus because Malta has won the match then with 4-2 at least, and then there's of course the winning position of board one. So it seems to be that it's going to be 5-1 Malta versus Cyprus. Malta doing well. Are you happy about that, Alessia?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to. I mean, it's true. Malta is near to Italy, but yeah, it's like also France is near to Italy. So
Italy is very close to, for example, Catania or Palermo. So yeah, I was thinking maybe you had some extra warm feelings for Malta because you're Italian, but
yeah, I mean, my friends went to holidays in Malta, but I don't have bigger connection than that.
oh yeah, it could
So
be. Malta, by the way, a very small island in the Mediterranean Sea. Really not that big. It's about 20 kilometers wide, and yeah, so really not a big island, but still a very nice place to go on a holiday, everyone. Of course.
yes, and they speak some Italian, but mostly they speak English, and they have also a Maltese language, their own language.
Ah,
So yeah, but they know some Italian mostly because a lot of Italian are going there to holidays, and for
mhm.
sure because it's close to Italy, so that's why.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we are closing in on to the end of this round. Let's see if we can still find some games going on.
Yes, sure. I mean, here we have the first board actually of the match we are following. So Malta against Cyprus, where Geoffrey Borg. Do you know what is the Borg opening?
The Borg opening. Oh, that's a long time ago. I don't know, Alessia. Actually, I can't recall what that is.
Really, you don't know?
I don't know the Borg opening. No,
So read this name at reversed.
the Grob.
Yes, it's
Uh,
exactly the reverse cropped. So it's
ah,
crop with black. So it's one G5
one
for
G5.
black.
Oh wow, the Borg opening one G5. Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a scary opening. That's a
That's
scary
scary.
opening.
That's scary, and I don't recommend anyone in the chat to play it. I also don't. I don't even play myself, so really, don't play it. I play mostly a lot of dubious opening online, um, but not the Borg because it's really too bad. So
Yeah.
don't play it.
By the way, about the game, it looks like Konstantinos is holding his own. It seems to be that we've entered a drawn rook ending. Yeah, white is going to be a pawn up, I believe. What do you think about the move rook c5? Does that work, Alessia?
Rook C5.
Regain the pawn, retain the pawn.
Okay, should be have lost. But now is the lost pawn endgame. I mean, rook takes e5 and king h5 isn't winning.
Yeah, it is. It's a lost pawn ending. I was wondering if black would fall for that because
Okay, king g4.
yeah, king g4 and it's over. Winning pawn ending. f3. F3 is now the winning move. Or f4, by the way. King g5, f4. Perfect. Yeah, wow. But he should have given the pawn, and then the rook ending would have still been a draw. Because the king will get in front of the pawn, and then you'll get a Philidor
Yeah.
defense, and it should just be a draw.
So let's see the panic moment. So this was the panic moment for, I mean, also h4, no? It's just not even losing the pawn, no?
Yeah, h4 is even more easy, I guess. Yeah, just h4, rook f4, and then it should be a draw as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, h4,
Very
h3, rook f4.
incredible. So what does it mean? This means that white, Geoffrey Borg from Malta won this game. So Malta won nearly maybe 5-1. Might
Yeah,
be
it's
5-1.
the official result is 5-1 for Malta. Wow, that's a big result for Malta. I thought it was going to be closer since Cyprus were doing so well in the base division, and also now they beat I think at least one pretty strong team in this group already. I think they won against Uganda. Uganda is quite a strong team, I think. Okay, Syria winning as well against Uganda. We've got some results actually. So Qatar winning 4.5, 1.5 against Kuwait. Syria already won the match 4-0 to Uganda. Only 2 games remaining, so Syria won that match. Pakistan, Mozambique, and Rwanda, Namibia, the only 2 undecided matches still going on in this round.
Yes, and I just pick one of the remaining games here. It's an interesting pawn end game between 2 girls. I think white is from Rwanda, who was a Jocelyn, and black is from Nambia, Liz and Mentile, and this should be okay. What? Draw? What? By agreement? No.
Yeah. Was it a repetition?
No, it was by agreement. I mean, I think black already f4 is winning. For example.
F4 is totally winning here. King takes e3 is even winning maybe.
Yeah, king snake e3. I mean, you have to calculate d5, no?
Yeah,
So
but this is easier. Yeah, just f4.
f4, king g2, and king e2, and then the pawn is just running.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be wow. Drawing in a winning position. Mental position must be. I'm wondering what that does for the match.
Yeah, because the match is still unclear actually. This could be important because at the moment I see 2-1 for Namibia.
Yeah, actually, this is a logical result because with this draw, Namibia has secured their victory in the match. It's now 3.5, 1.5 for Namibia.
Okay, so now we
Still,
understand.
the winning end game, of course, you could have also.
You won that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I guess I don't know if there are still games going on.
Let's check. Let's see if we can find some.
Yeah. I think no, I don't see games, but maybe we can show shortly. We can introduce the pool C, because also the pool C is playing, and actually we have also their results. Just to understand where we are. We are currently at the pool C round 3, but at the same time also the pool C started and round 1 was played already. So we want to show you now the pairings of the round C. The pairings of round C. No, the pairings of pool C round 1. And here we are.
Yeah.
And here your dear Lebanon is playing.
Yeah, Lebanon is playing. Yeah, it's a country that I've visited, that I've played a tournament in, so I do know a couple of people there. Actually, I've personally played against the board one of Lebanon at this moment, Faisal Kairala, and I do know that Lebanon is a very, very, very strong team. I was even wondering why they were in Division 4 because they had a really strong lineup. But there's a reason for it because in the previous Olympiad they did not do so hot and therefore they started in the base division. They qualified for the fourth division and now we are here seeing them win their first match against Oman. Yeah, Lebanon is one of the favorites. Another country we might want to keep a check on is Nigeria. Nigeria also has a pretty strong lineup. And otherwise, wait, I wrote down a few countries that were really strong. Ethiopia and Sudan also could very well be in the running for qualification for the next division. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have actually it would be interesting to know how the Ethiopia and Nigeria maybe they are still playing, but the score is
Yeah.
currently 2.5, 2.5. It means that it's an extremely tight match,
Mhm.
and maybe we will have a draw, or maybe one of this country will win this match.
Yeah, that's an important match directly in round one. These two are two of the teams that could qualify for the next division. So this is the most important match probably of round one. And yeah, I don't think there are more surprises. Sudan, Cameroon still undecided. Mauritania versus Eswatini also a win for Mauritania. I don't think that's a big surprise. Lesotho versus Malawi, 3-0 so far. I also don't think that is a big surprise. But yeah, we'll of course update you with the full result later on to see what the standings are as well, of course.
Yes,
And
sure.
in the meantime, we are also waiting for an update on the Pool B standings, I believe.
Yes, we have it. We have it. Here we are. And
Right.
yes, that's the standings of Pool B. As we can see, Syria is leading with 6 out of 6, 3 victory from Syria, and is going with a nice feeling to the next 2 days where they will be playing round number the last 6 round of this section.
Yeah.
Following with 5 points, we find Malta that just won the match against Cyprus, and then at 4 points, actually, three teams. So it's a fight for the third place, and we hope that will be a fight until the end. Namibia, Qatar, and Mozambique are there with 4 points. What do you think? Do we have will we have surprise in the next days, or more or less are these the teams that have possibility to qualify to the next division?
Yeah, it's tough to say. We still, of course, have a lot of interesting pairings ahead of us. The one country that actually comes to mind is the country Uganda. I before the if when I was checking their lineup, they were actually one of the teams that I consider to be one of the potential candidates to move on to the next division. But they started with 3 losses, and yeah, I that is they were playing against really strong teams as well, against Syria, Malta, and I also believe they lost against Cyprus. Also, 3 very strong teams. So yeah, but 3 losses already. That could be very well fatal, and that could mean that they don't have a shot again for qualifying for the next division. I'm still thinking that uh, they could cause some upsets. For example, if they have to play against Qatar, for example, or Namibia, they might actually cause them to not qualify later. So yeah, that's my hope. I hope that they will pick up the pace and make sure that they are causing some rampage in the standings. That would be awesome. Yeah. All
All
right.
right, so maybe we could check if we have the pairings for the next round, because the results, I think we added we add all the results, but let's have a look once again at the pairings and the results of Pool C, because I know that it might seem confusing, but we are at the same time watching at Pool B and Pool C. The next round will be extremely easy because just Pool C is playing, so we will just enjoy the second round of Pool C. No other pool is playing because Pool C is over, sorry, Pool B is over, and so we are going to have the second round of Pool C. So still actually some results are missing here. So still we don't know who won between Ethiopia and Nigeria.
All right, and we will get back to you after a short break. Yeah, we will get back to you with the standings, with the results. We need some time to get them ready for you guys. But we will, of course, after a small break, we will be back, like Alessia said, with round 2 of Pool C. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes.
here we are. We are back. Hello, everyone. I'm always Alessia, and I'm here with the Grandmaster from Netherlands, Roland Preussers. And we are now here. We want to comment and to go on the round 2 of Pool C. Here next to the board, you can see already the pairings, and we're going to have some exciting match. I have already a question for Roland. What do you think should be the match to follow?
Yeah, that is a tough one. As always, all the games are of course interesting to follow. Let me take a look. Lebanon, Sudan would be my choice, to be honest, because Lebanon, well, it's always nice to see, of course, the favorite player, the favorite team, in action, of course, and they're playing against Sudan, and it's a pretty tight matchup. I mean, both teams are pretty good in comparison to the other teams. I mean, they both have a really good shot to play in the next division if they qualify. So I think that would definitely be my choice of match to follow. Yeah, and also, of course, I'm being a bit biased because I have been to Lebanon and I know some people there. But yeah, that would be my choice. Will you indulge me in this Lebanon choice, Alessia? Would that be okay?
For sure. I allow you to choose to be
You
captain.
allow me. I'm so happy that was okay. All right.
It seems slow. You have to ask me which game. But no, guys, it's not like this. It's not like this. Don't worry. And yeah, everything. Everything okay. We choose together. We just choose which one could be the most interesting. The most interesting match to see. And here we have the standings after the round 1. Actually, okay, is not so accurate because 5 teams won and 5 teams lost. But yeah, you would like to have a look at Lebanon, Sudan, I guess, no?
Yes. I think that would be a very interesting match to follow. We could also, of course, there are other matches that are interesting as well. For example, Mauritania, well, currently in first place, Lesotho in first place, Lebanon also with four and a half, 1.5, one match in the previous round. Cameroon also, Nigeria also, with a full 100% score. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we're still only in the second round, everyone. So it is, of course, a bit of a gamble who would be the most interesting to follow. But yeah, we'll follow everyone in a little bit, of course. Yeah, I mean, lots of choices at least to choose from.
Sure.
Right.
And I guess the games are going to start very, very, very soon. Let's remind everyone that yes, maybe we can shortly. Oh, we have the games. Wait a second. We might have the games. So, but I lost the game. So let's do like this. I need to find the games. So I let's have a short review to the format and kindly explain it by Roland.
By Mr. Roland. Yes, hello, I'm Roland. So the format is very easy. It's a huge event. As you can see, there are 163 teams and over 1,500 players from around the world. Countries like Lesotho you don't see very often in big events, and that's why it's so nice to have an Olympiad, of course, where every country is able to participate. Okay, we have 5 divisions. They are divided according to strength. We are now in the 4th division, the second lowest of them, and they can promote to a higher division if they get to one of the 3 spots. Okay, and it is also based on time zone and strength, of course, and here you have also the division. So the top division is the division that you really want to check out. The upcoming weekends are working towards the top division, where we will find out who will move on to stage 2. Stage 2 is the stage where the medals occur. So yeah, also some top teams, of course, Russia, China, USA, Ukraine, India, and some predetermined countries nominated by the continents. So yeah, that's definitely something to look forward to. The schedule is a highly packed one. The upcoming months, the Olympiad will progress further, basically every weekend. So this weekend we have Division 4, next weekend Division 3, the other weekend Division 2, and then finally we get to the top division and also to stage 2 in the weekend afterwards. So you can expect a lot of fun in this month. And yeah, but for now we are of course focused on Division 4 and specifically right now on Pool C. In this division, we've got 5 pools total, and Pool C being the third one. So do we
Yes.
have the games already, Alessia?
Yes, we have the games. Games have started, and let's see if we have already the Lebanon against. Yes, here we have. We have some at least. This should be the female board because sometimes they are tricky. They want to trick the hosts, so they start a game not together, and so then the hosts are tricked, and the hosts don't understand who is playing and who is not playing.
Yeah, we are a bit struggling with that, everybody. Well, we'll of course get every game on the board soon.
Okay, the very first game I guess on the link should be the game. Yeah, the first board. I will ask Roland for confirmation because I'm really not sure here.
All
So
right, I'll do that.
yes,
Yeah, that is the first board. You're actually sorry, that's the second board actually. And yeah, we want to
okay,
stress
I
also
found the
that.
first one. So
All right. Well, all right. Then let's take a look at that. So I want to stress also that the ratings you see on Chess.com are not the official ratings that they have. Those are the Chess.com ratings you see. So I'll try to keep you updated on their actual ratings. So in this case, Mr. Fadi Ait, his rating is, or Aid, his rating is 2337 officially, and the player from Sudan, Mr. Omar El Ghani, has a rating of 2283. Yeah, so this is an international master clash on board one.
mm-hmm. And the opening was D4 knight c6. How is this? It's called Chigorin. Yeah. I think Chigorin.
Yeah, the Chigorin starts with knight c6 indeed. Um, yeah, exactly. This is the Chigorin.
Yeah,
Bishop forward.
it's a long time that I have not seen this line. I mean, I remember that I was very scared um, to play something like that because when I was young, I was playing after knight against knight c3 to move knight c6, and because I wanted to re-enter in something like e4 e5, I knew just one line, and then when they were playing to me d4, I was suddenly in this chigorin that I have no clue how to play, and yeah, I learned on my own skin that yeah, the knight on c6 is not really well placed in these structures. So I don't know. What do you think about this line and the current position?
Yeah, it's the knight on c6 is usually not the greatest piece because you want the c7 pawn to move forward to c5 so that it can undermine the center so that you can grab some space, and the knight on c6 is blocking that pawn. It could be an okay to like follow to like play a move like knight c6, but then you have to follow up with a move like e5 at some point. If that does not work, then usually it's the opponent who has the better position. So yeah, my question is e5 working at the moment, Alessio?
In five. Maybe something like knight g6 and d5?
Yeah. If
Or,
e5, white wins a pawn, I believe, after d takes e5, but I'm not sure. Maybe black can even try to grab that pawn back, for example, with a move like knight g6 at some point. So yeah, that would be interesting to see if that works. Instead, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, and now knight d5 played.
Yes. So yes, we understood. Thank you, Roland, for explaining the idea of this line for black. And I guess here white is a comfortable position. We will see if black will be able to push e5 at one point. But I guess now it's time to move to some other game. And we should have the second board, and it looks like a weird opening already. So here should be the second board. Here we have Mr. Ahmed Hassan with the black pieces and Marvin Tom with the white pieces. So
yeah,
what was this? I mean, I'm surprised about the current position. 92 followed by g3, knight c6, bishop g2, bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, f4, e6, and d4. Oh, what? Oh, wait.
Boy. Oh, boy.
Did black lose a piece?
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it. I think that Ahmed was not paying attention there. The bishop is indeed now trapped on g6 after the move f5. There's nothing black can do.
Yeah, I mean, there is this queen h4 check, but yeah, it's not a big deal. White will just move the king to f1, and the king will be safe there, and yeah, and a piece is a piece.
Yeah, a piece is a piece, no doubt about that. So yeah, black can maybe get 2 pawns for it after bishop takes g4. But yeah, the piece should be, of course, much more worth than. Even though the king on f1 is a bit stuck there, white can play a move like queen e1 to get the dangerous queen on h4 out of the way. So yeah, this was a blunder by Ahmed. I think he was a bit too fast with playing the move e6 on move 6, not realizing that it was a losing move.
Yeah. I agree. So I will. I think the board. Let's try to find some other games. Yeah, this should be the same match. Here we have Maya with the white pieces, a women FM from Lebanon against Ibtial from Sudan with the black pieces. This opening was an English opening, a symmetrical variation, where let's have a look at the current position where white seems really to have a lot of space. I like the fact that white has the pawn f5 and g4 very pushed. Black on the other end could play on the queen side.
Yeah, I agree. It's looking very well for white. The pawn on f5, that's a huge achievement because that could thrust into the black king side position at some point. While black is trying to get an initiative on the queen side, but it's not yet as far as the pawn on f5 and all the potential that it holds. So I do believe that white is faster here and has the better position. And also look, by the way, at black's knight on b8, which is still underdeveloped at the moment. By the way, let me also give an update on what the actual ratings are of these two players. So we're looking now at the second women's board, where Miss Maya has a rating of 1876 of the Lebanon, and Miss Ibtihal has a rating of 1410 for Sudan. So that means that the player from Lebanon has more than 400 rating points more than her opponent.
And yeah, so it seems like white is also doing pretty well here. What do you think could be a way to go on here for white?
For white, well, maybe f6 is always something to consider, pushing the bishop on e7 back to d8, and then maybe mate through the dark squares with h6 and g7 at some point. So that could definitely be a way to play here. Another idea is to play it positionally. In this case, for example, Black realized that she needed to be quick, and so quickly c4, b5, knight a6, knight c5. White could also choose to say like, okay, I have a space advantage on the king side. Let's now try to secure my advantage by also trying to undermine Black's queen side. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that's the right strategy because Black is now getting some counterplay.
Yeah. And why is rook c4 not so good?
Yeah, because of bishop b5, that's the idea. Actually, you could try and say like the bishop on d7 is such an important piece that an exchange would be okay for it. But yeah, it does hold some risks. So I do believe that Maya was better, a lot better at some point, but now it's starting to get pretty tricky. Yeah. Knight d3 is an idea for black if white does not take on c4. Knight b3, bishop a4. There are some shenanigans that black could go for. So yeah, white is in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I agree. And white just played queen f3.
Okay, that means just ignoring the queen side threats. I'm not sure that's the greatest idea. The queen is better placed on f3, I believe, but for example, knight d3, rook b8 could mean that the b2 pawn will be under heavy attack. So
Yeah. And knight
yeah,
d3 on board, followed by rook c2, protecting the b2 pawn. And knight rook b8 seems really a reasonable move and a logical continuation for black.
yeah, I think the black is starting to get the upper hand a little bit. Yeah, the white's plan on the king side is not so clear. Probably you want to play f6 at some point, but now that's definitely not possible because bishop takes g4, for example. So yeah, and then the queen on f3 is trapped.
Actually, I would have preferred as a white player to put the queen on d2. Because, as we mentioned before, there could always be ideas related to f6, bishop away, and queen h6, queen g7 mate.
Exactly. Yeah, that could very well be a good option. Yeah, maybe white is planning to play something like knight e2, queen h3, and then try to mate like that. That could
Yeah,
also
that's
be
true.
very
This is
interesting.
another way.
Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting game. We are going to, of course, keep an eye on that. I would say let's see how the other games are going. I'm curious how the match is progressing so far.
Okay, I'm shortly trying, sorry for switching games very often, but I'm trying to find the first women board that I don't find. So yeah, we gone with the other boards. This should be the junior male board. And here we have Abdallah Manson from Sudan with the white pieces against Samer Salman with the black pieces.
Yeah, I can confirm that. That is indeed a junior board. The ratings are pretty close. Mr. Mansour from Sudan has a rating of 1833, and Mr. Salman from Lebanon has a rating of 1735. So, yeah, rating advantage for the player from Sudan in this board. But okay, it's all about the position, of course. Who do you think is better and why, Alessia?
Well, here I think that black is doing very good. Why? So I really like the bishop on b7. It's not just because black has the bishop here, but that bishop on b7 is not white has not the light square bishop that could play against this one, and black has really the control of the biggest diagonal on the board, the a8 h1 diagonal. There could always be trick on g2, and so I would say that black has much more space, and this bishop on b7 is a nice factor. I'm wondering if there is a way to activate the bishop, the dark square bishop, and make usage of that.
Yeah, that is the big question here. I mean, black is absolutely doing great here with that strong bishop. That diagonal cannot be contested for a while. Yeah, how to continue though? I mean, you do want to keep opening up the position because you have two bishops. But on the other hand, a move like f6 could destroy black's king side. So it's very hard to see what the right plan is. One of the ideas could have been maybe to play g5 instead of bishop f8 to try and undermine the center a bit more. And
I like g5.
yeah, you are of course a Grab and Borg player, so you like g5.
No,
Uh,
but I like these side moves that undermine the center because actually the idea of g5 is not f4 but is e4, e5. So because if white takes on g5, e5 is falling. So
yeah,
and I really
exactly.
like a lot. There is such an idea I think in the French. In some close French line, there is this idea with g5 undermining the center of white, and it's always a cute idea to play at the center without playing at the center, playing for the center without playing at the center.
That's complicated.
Yeah.
g5, the computer doesn't like it for some reason, but I think it's at least a very interesting move to consider.
Yes, is an
Um,
idea in the position might be that here is concretely is not working.
yeah, another idea could be to focus on the c2 pawn because it's well, white's never going to play c3 because it opened a lot of diagonals. So instead, you could try to put some rooks on the c file, play queen c4, and see how white is going to deal with that. That is also an interesting idea. Maybe making black's battery a bit different. For example, playing queen c4, bishop d5, queen c6, so that the queen is behind the bishop at some point. So yeah, I'm not sure that suggestion is a good one because d4 is actually falling, but I think it's a good idea to try and get the queen behind the bishop so that it can chase the d3 queen away.
Yeah, yeah. But the problem, maybe something like bishop c5 first, bishop b6. I mean, if black would have all the tempo, maybe bishop c5, bishop b6, queen c4, bishop d5, queen c6, all these ideas like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe that's also a good idea. A plan for white could be to play bishop d2, knight g3, rook e1, and knight e4, perhaps, to try and get the knight repositioned. So I do think that black is in a critical time. Black is definitely better, but if white gets a lot of time, then the knight on e4 could become, kind of a problem for black. So, but yeah, after b3, I like the approach of putting some rooks on the c file now because the c2 pawn will be an indefinite target.
Yes, and there is a suggestion from the chat that I see bishop e7 and bishop h4. So looks interesting. Has the g3. I mean, g3 cannot be played, and the rook cannot move. So what do you think? Clearly, I mean, white could put a knight on g3. So what do you think about this maneuver?
Well, at the very least, it's incredibly annoying. Uh, Yeah, it looks good. It looks like a good idea. The rook on f2, of course, needs to keep protecting g2 pawn. And it pins the knight on g3, so it stops the knight e4. So bishop h4, knight g3. I'm not sure how to continue after that, though, because I'm not sure you want to actually take on g3. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what it's off how you will continue after that. So, but it's an interesting suggestion. Yeah, at least the knight on g3 is pinned, so that cannot go to e4 for a little while. So yeah,
Yeah. No, I think
interesting suggestion.
I like really a lot the idea of putting rooks on the c file and playing against the c2 pawn. Because, yeah, might be that then black could attack different points, and attacking different points, he will get probably something might fall in the white position.
All right, then I think we've talked a lot about this position already. Maybe we can now give some other players some attention. Actually, we've got, let's see if we can find, for example, the last board or the first board. I don't think we've covered those two yet.
Yeah, we have
So
here
let's see.
the junior board. It should be the board number 5, I guess, if I'm not wrong, and is Nor
Yep.
Asom against the Ayabra 1, and should be the junior male board, I guess.
Uh, Actually, it's the female board.
The female board, sorry.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, the names are very different from European names, of course, but yeah, I think it's this is the last board of the match, so that means the junior female board. Yeah.
All right, this is
So
the current position,
yeah,
and
who do you think is better and why, Alessia?
all right, I always count pawns, and I see that black has 3 extra pawns. Then if I have a short look at the other pieces, I can definitely say that black is much better. Black is winning due to a lot of extra pawns in the end game, and yeah. Now also black has the nice threat of king f6, a discovery attack with the king. This is not so usual, but in the end game, this can happen. And yeah, white is just doing great here.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, the bishop is a bit stronger than the knight. I would say the knight does not have any squares in the center where it can comfortably stand. Maybe it wants to go to g5 at some point, but in such an open position, the bishop is just such a strong piece. And actually, I think that the rook on h7 is trapped. It cannot go anywhere
Ooh,
after
yeah.
king
After
g6.
king g6, that's true. That's true. And there is not an easy way to do something about it. I think it's just h3 is a good try at least, but king g7 is already
Yeah,
even
or
more winning than winning. Is there something more even more than winning?
you could play bishop e2 perhaps, because the bishop is still protecting the h5 pawn, and yeah, the rook is also trapped on h6. If you play rook h6, then simply um, king g6. Maybe after bishop e2, white still has the idea of f5 though. So yeah, I understand why black just wants to get it over with. Let's just grab the rook and say like, okay, I've got your rook. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
looking good for Sudan there. Sudan winning probably that game. And did we already check maybe the first board, Alessia? Did we
Yes,
already
let's
talk
go
about
back
it?
to the first boards. Here in board 1, we have 2 international masters facing each other. We saw already that the opening was an atypical opening, was a Chigorin defense, where basically against the Queen's Gambit, black is not putting a pawn on c6 but the knight, with the idea to play as soon as possible the move e5 and get an active play. Now, in the current position, we are at an endgame where white is a pawn up, but there is opposite color bishop. Oh, is the pawn on g4 falling?
Seems to be that way. I'm trying to find out if white can get anything in return for it, because yeah, the pawn on g4 cannot be protected at the moment, but even when losing the g4 pawn, I still think that white is clearly in favor here, because the pawns are so far ahead already with on e5. There could be a pawn on f5 at some point, and yeah, the rook on d2 is covering the important d files. So I very much am sure that white is better here. How much, I'm not too sure though, because if the pawn on g4 falls and the bishop on c6 does not have to move, then I don't think there's any way for white to break in here. So
Yeah.
I like g5
I
though.
also like g5.
Yeah, very good move. h6, g5, then f5, and at least the rook does not have much activity on h6 also.
Yes. Basically, there were two ways to give away this pawn. One, just doing another move, like for example f5. But after rook takes g4, there is pressure on g2, and maybe also plans connected to h5, h4. So I don't like too much this way, but g5 is very smart, because after h take g5, f5, those pawns are really strong, and this rook is not so active because there is a pawn in front of us, and also the pawns is a bit weaker pawn structure. So yeah, really a good way to give back the pawn.
Yeah, white is making use of the d file with rook c d1. So how dangerous is the idea of rook d8 and trying to get the c pawn perhaps here?
Yeah, I mean, also after getting the c pawn, I think white would get a one-way. I mean, after getting the c pawn, white would get really a one-way endgame where it's just playing for two results. So I think I can be very dangerous.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that white is in the driving seat, but it still is not that much. For example, black has also the idea of maybe playing bishop e4. Yeah, I was considering that as well. So that the f5 pawn is under attack, and it cannot really be defended at the moment. So maybe instead a move like rook d4 was actually correct, to at least try to prevent this bishop e4 move, because the pawn on f5, I think it's just gonna fall at this moment. So
Yeah, and if the pawn is gonna fall, black is doing suddenly great. And yes, we have also bishop e4. Yeah, and I think that this shows an important features about pawns that are extra pushed, because in every move there are advantages and disadvantages. And yeah, pushed pawn are very dangerous, and they occupy a lot of squares. They could threat a lot, many different stuff like a fast pass pawn, but also really limiting the space for the opponent is also an important feature. But on the other hand, they are an easier target to attack. It's not so easy to attack the b7 and c7 pawn, but it's a bit easier to attack the f5 pawn because it's already very near to black pieces. So this is a good example, I think. Bishop e4, I like it a lot. And black is suddenly doing great, I think. Yes.
yeah, I think black does not have a lot of problems here. White still needs to solve a few things. Yeah, some more moves on the board. Yeah, the rook is extremely active though on the 7th rank. I do find it hard to imagine how to actually make use of that rook though. Is a move like rook c6 a good idea, do you think, Alessio?
Well, I mean, could be a great. No. I thought
No.
that was but because b7 would be falling probably.
Yeah, I agree too. I think rook b6 is actually the better move. Yeah, just get the rook on the 2nd rank, bring your king to g6, and yeah, start creating some problems for your opponent. This could go either way, I think. This is a very interesting opposite-colored bishop ending.
No, that's true. This is very interesting. I mean, both players to take care because still white is a pawn up here, and the e5 pawn might be dangerous. But black pieces are extremely active. The threat of rook b2 and the g2 pawn might fall is very strong. So yeah, it's complex.
It's very, very complex. Yeah, who said that? Who said it? Who said that opposite-colored bishop endings are boring? Sometimes they're not. It's about the position. Yeah.
You know, the only stuff that I mostly like a lot to play with opposite bishop, especially when there are other pieces. I mean, when the endgame is just between bishops and pawn, mostly is very boring and an easy draw. But when there are rooks, when there are other pieces, could get more complex.
Yeah. So one thing black does definitely have to watch out for is that if you grab the g2 pawn, the e6 pawn might start to roll. So for example, after rook b2, bishop takes g2, then e6 could be a very good idea for white. So I think that black could solve that by first putting a king on f5 or on g6, so to at least stop the e6 pawn from rolling very much, because the king will be close enough to prevent it from promoting. So yeah, rook c4 is a weird move, though. I'm not sure how I should approach that one. I think.
I mean,
Oh,
bishop d5, for example.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
that looks
attacking.
good. Yeah, it looks good, and then just grab the a2 pawn.
Yeah, because the e6 square is controlled by bishop and rook, so it's perfectly fine. And yeah, why not grabbing another pawn there?
Yeah, I think black is doing better at the moment, but we also have to take a look at the time, of course. Sometimes it's so hard to forget the time. And Lebanon player FIDE Aid has 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So the time control, everybody, is 15 minutes by the start of the game and 5 seconds extra per move. So increment per move. So they are not going to be in heavy time trouble, but still, we've seen already a lot of mistakes happening in time trouble. So it's important to take control over that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And maybe let's have a look to other boards, because the second board we have a result, so it's good to mention it. And here white won this endgame because, yeah, I mean, it seems like if you look for 1 second, it looked like a normal position. There is a knight for black, there is a knight for white. But then if you look an extra second, you realize that black is two. Where are black's rooks? There are no black rooks.
There are no rooks here.
So
Yeah,
yeah, is 1-0
unfortunately.
GGO for white.
Yeah, very
So
nicely done by Lebanon. So I'm not sure how they're cruising through this match. It seems to be going okay from what I saw. Their last board lost, unfortunately. So yeah, it's still a match. We haven't seen all the results or just yet, of course. Yeah,
yes,
we'll keep you updated.
sure. And here we have another board. This is should be the second female board probably, if I don't get it wrong. Is between Ibital with the black pieces. Actually, I should always name first white and then black. So it's between Maya, the women FM from Lebanon, against the women CM Ibtial. Yes.
Yeah. What is this ending? Would you go for the pawn ending here, Alessia, if rook takes c1?
Oh, oh no, because the king is near to the king, I think. So I have to calculate shortly. So rook take, king take, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and the king needs 1, 2, 3, 4 to protect. So wait, but yeah, it's good because then you probably have e5. Okay, now it's completely easy. Before was not clear, I think, at least. Because now you can take on c5 and then play e5. And I think it's completely winning.
Yeah, it's still not so easy of a pawn ending because white needs to, well, actually maybe it is. I think white should be close to winning, yeah, because I was thinking maybe white has trouble to win after rook takes c5, d takes c5, king c3, and black playing a4 because okay, both pawns are a bit stuck if the kings get in front, but the white pawns are so advanced that I think the king can actually run towards the pawns and
Yeah,
help the
yeah.
white pawns promote.
Okay, a3 loses on the spot now.
I think so, yeah. Unfortunately for black, yeah. Yeah, we still have to see exactly how that goes, but I'm pretty sure that this is winning for white. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we have the result, which was claimed a draw by agreement. Pity, because we wanted to see still fight and blood here in part
Yeah.
one. But yeah, a draw was agreed, and so this is the last game of the match between Lebanon and Sudan.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just winning.
It's just winning. Yeah, we can see exactly. Yeah, now it's absolutely winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now 2 pawns. For some reason, the pawns were lost. For black, yeah, black should have definitely kept the pawn on a4. For example, on move, what was it? On move 57, um, black played a4, and then white played e5, and then black played the move a3, but a3 loses both pawns, and that makes it a lot easier for white. Yeah.
Yes, so let's move maybe to another board because yeah, it's very nice to see here, but white is just crashing. And yeah, there is not a huge game, but instead we could move because there is might be the first board actually here of the match Mauritania against Oman. Two teams that advance from base division to division 4, sorry. And here we have an end game where white is an exchange up, but it's still not so easy as the queen could give the king a lot of checks. So
No, 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 mate in two.
oh
Oh, wow. Okay, that was so unfortunate there.
yeah, this made king
Oh,
h7 made everything easier for black, for white.
that
Sorry.
hurt. That really hurts. Oh boy, I think he was doing fine if he did not play King H7, but King G7.
Yeah, king
Then,
g7 is still is a
well,
fight.
fine. I'm not 100% sure if it's fine, but it's at least very, very hard for White to win in position like this. Because
Maybe rook h2, and if checks are over.
after rook, excuse me, after rook H2, Queen F1, Queen E3, moves like that should at least secure a draw for Black, I believe, because of the knight. There should be actually, yeah, King G4. Then you have Knight E3, for example.
Oh,
It should be very, very dangerous for.
yeah, sorry, that game was closed because somebody
Okay.
started a new game, so we are not going to see it anymore. But here we could. Oh, is a grandmaster playing? I don't know, from Czech Republic. No, it's not
Maybe
inside
I
this.
think we've seen all the games, perhaps. Oh no, there's one more game going on, I
Yes,
believe.
Mauritania, no? Al
Yeah,
Busadi
Mauritania.
GM.
Yeah, exactly. Versus Oman. Yeah, those two countries have already played against each other in the base division. They both qualified, and yeah, they're of course very happy to be here. I don't. Let's see what the result is. So far, it's a 2-1 lead for Mauritania, and yeah, the scoreboard will update that shortly. So 2-1 for Mauritania, and only one board so far remaining, but that also looks good for Mauritania. And so it seems like Mauritania is going to win that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here also Mauritania is doing pretty good in this end game. I'm not sure if it's completely winning because just Black has too many pawns and there is no way that the king can stop. Yeah, now okay, maybe king h2 might be the winning move.
Yeah, I thought so too. King H2. Well,
King
you could
h
also wait a little bit. You could also play H2. I don't think White has any good way of defending both pawns. For
mm-hmm.
example, Bishop G5 right now. And if the king moves, C2 probably also good enough. King D2, King F2, King G1 should be over. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I liked a bit more to move king h2 here because the idea is to go to h1 and then promote easily the pawn, and without black, without losing the c3 pawn, so would be immediately winning. And if the king goes near, like king f1, the c2 pawn is just unstoppable. So it seems to me a bit more easy. But still, let's see the current position. Yes, still this pawn endgame is completely winning because white will lose the pawn, and then pawn plus bishop are enough to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, we've almost come to a close of round 2. We'll keep you updated, of course, on the final scores and on the standings. Yeah, the scores that you can see so far are a clear win for Lesotho versus Cameroon, 4-0. It's actually 5-0 already, so we're going to keep those updated. But yeah, in any case, Lesotho won the match. Nigeria, Malawi, still unclear. Results still have to get updated. But Ethiopia winning against Eswatini. And I have an update actually on the match Lebanon versus Sudan. Lebanon won the match, at least with 3.5 points. It could also be more with one more game to get updated. So Lebanon so far, how do you say, they are making worth their favorite role, their role of favorites. Yeah.
I was scared, by the way, Roland, that there was a stalemate, because I shortly watched this endgame. I watched the chat and somebody commented stalemate, and I thought the stalemate was on the board, so I got a bit shocked. I think chat saw the moment of shock, but actually it was not needed because black managed to win this last game. So.
Yeah, there are some trolls in the chat, Alessia. Don't listen to them. Never trust chat, or always trust chat, but know that there are trolls in the chat.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah,
trolls.
Guys, be gentle with us, okay? Be gentle.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we're waiting once again on the standings and on the results. We'll be back with those shortly.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see if we can update those.
Roland, I'm just looking at your camera. Do you know that it looks like you're in paradise?
I know. Yeah, that's how I did it. Yeah, I'm in heaven right now with you, Alessia. Very good. No, yeah, it's just some settings with the camera. It's like I have to adjust them in a little bit. It's a very warm and sunny day also, so yeah.
Also here the same. I close everything, but it's very, very warm outside.
Yeah, it's like in the Netherlands, it's right now over 30 degrees Celsius, so it's it's very hot inside, very sunny day. But yeah, you look like you are at home, Alessia. It's so different.
No, it's nearly the same. I just have all the windows closed, so there is just artificial light in the room, so it looks like the same basically. Yeah. You will not see the change of the day.
Yeah, I'll try to make it a little more normal because it looks indeed like I'm just there just went a flash bomb off in my apartment, so yeah.
It's okay. I think it's time to take a short break. The results are not yet all there, so great moment to take a break, and we will be back for the round 3 of Pool C and the starting of the next pool, the pool D, not number but letter D. So see you soon, guys. Let's see in a few minutes. And welcome back. Here we are. I'm Women FM Malta Santero. Here I'm with Grandmaster Roland Pruisers, and we are going to commentate the Division 4. We are currently looking at Pool C and D. Indeed, actually now we are going to see Pool C round 3, so the last round for our friends of Pool C. And a new poll is starting, the Pool D. And yeah, next to the board, we are shortly showing everyone the new teams that are going to fight in this Pool D. And so Liberia will be facing Haiti, Ghana will be facing Suriname.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is a new country for me.
And they speak Dutch actually, so the way to pronounce that is Suriname.
Suriname, perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, would be the same way as we pronounce it in Italian. So Suriname.
Well, there you go.
Then Puerto Rico against Netherlands, Antilles or Antilles.
Well, in the Netherlands we say Nederlandse Antillen, so I guess it's Antilles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Angola.
Angola,
Angola
Senegal.
against Senegal, and Togo against Palestine.
Yep. Some interesting matches, of course. Pool D is very interesting to follow as well. I think that Suriname is actually one of the favorites in this pool, actually. And Puerto Rico against Netherlands Antilles is also an interesting match. Yeah, I don't see any huge big clashes. The favorites of Pool D are actually Angola is actually one of the favorites here, together with Suriname, Haiti, and Puerto Rico. Those countries have very high average rating compared to the other countries, so those are the four countries to watch, I believe. So, yeah, they don't yet have to play against each other, so not the biggest matches in this round one, but of course, some interesting round. Liberia versus Haiti is, for example, I believe, a base division match. They both promoted from the base division to the Division 4. So, yeah, lots of interesting stuff going on in Pool D.
Yes, sure. So, yeah, I guess this is the Pool D. We will present the results at the end of this round. But now let's have a look how Pool C round 3, that is the round where we are going to focus on, and we are going also to follow games. The games here we are first Lebanon against Cameroon, then Mauritania against Sudan, Ethiopia against Oman, Malawi against Eswatini, and Lesotho against Nigeria. And yes, here we are. The games are starting. So we are going to comment on them in a while. But first, let me ask our Grandmaster, which according to your data and calculation is the most interesting match to follow?
Well, before we go into that, and it's actually kind of a hint also, where do you think the country of Lesotho is stationed, Alessio? Do you know? I'm going to be the geography master again.
Yeah, exactly. And as you are the geography master, I want that you take hold of merit to explain everyone where Lesotho is.
All right, yeah, it's in the south of Africa. It's in the north of South Africa. So, yeah, it's a small country with about 2 million inhabitants, I believe. So, yeah, it's a country in South Africa, in the south of Africa. That is a bit confusing because South Africa itself is a nation. So, yeah. Okay, in any case, yeah, to get back at your question, I would like to check the game between Lesotho and Nigeria because they both are leading in the standings currently. So I would be interested in following that match.
Oh
Nigeria,
yes. So let me show shortly the standings to everyone like this. We see that yes, as you say, both Lesotho and Nigeria are leading with 4 points. So and they are also a new team as you said. So we didn't have in the previous division So great suggestion to follow, to look at those games.
Yep, then we will do that, of course, shortly. We've got some other games, of course, going on as well. Some games sometimes start a little later than others, everyone. So sometimes we're having trouble finding the right games.
Yes.
In any case, I think that they started actually. I think round one. Yeah.
Yes, here I have
Yeah.
for
Well,
sure one game, Lesotho against Nigeria, but should not be the first board, so I will try to find the first board here. And
all
very
right.
hard to find, very hard. Maybe it was okay, here we might have a first board. Here, there is an international master, and when there is, the titles are always helping me. So here we have Mr. Tokero class from Lesotho against the international master Mombasa from Nigeria. The game is not yet started, but should start soon, we hope.
Yeah, and the ratings are are different than you see right now on the board. Their official ratings are different. What you see right now are the Chess.com ratings, so I'll give you an update on that. The rating of the player from Nigeria is actually 2251, while the rating of the player from Lesotho is actually 1857. So still a big rating favorite is the player from Nigeria. And actually, they have a pretty strong lineup. I think that they have got a good chance to promote to the next division as well, together with Lebanon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's hope that the player from Lesotho will start the game. I see that class is not yet, didn't yet play move one, so I guess it's better to move to one other board of this match.
Yeah.
And yeah, we might have here the second board because I see a candidate master from Nigeria with the white pieces, Mr. Oluwafemi, and with the black pieces, Mr. Molapo Young. And I hope this is the right. I mean, is the second board because this rating of 800 is quite confusing. Maybe Roland
Yeah.
could give us a feedback.
I will give some feedback on that. Yeah, it's indeed board two, so that means the second board on the open section, and yeah, the player from Nigeria. The rating is more or less the same. It's the official rating is 2200 flat, while the rating of Mr. Yuang, Molapo Yuang, is actually 1607. So
Okay.
once again, big rating difference there in favor of Nigeria.
Yes. And here we have the secret, secret, it's not so secret, but one of the favorite weapon used by Fischer, that is the King's Indian attack against the French. And it's exactly putting the pawn on d3, and then the idea is to, it's called attack because the idea is to attack. It is called kingside attack because it's very similar to the kingside against d4.
Yes. Well, usually what white wants to do is to play h4, knight f1, and knight h2, and to try and get an activity going on the king side in that way. And yeah, black usually wants to put a queen side attack going. So usually you see b5, b4, and yeah, trying to push on the king side, but on the queen side. But yeah, black put the pawn on b6, and that's also an option. I know that it's definitely not a bad idea, but I'm struggling a little bit to see where why the pawn should not be moved to b5 instead. Maybe you've got some information on this, Alessia.
Oh no, I'm not an expert of these lines. I don't play these neither with black
Mhm.
and neither with white side, so I'm not too sure about that. Uh,
All right.
but it seems a bit slow. I prefer mostly direct ways, and this seems a bit a slow approach for black.
Yeah, I agree too. You could play with b6. I believe that it's because you could play bishop a6 and c4 rather quickly, because in that way you can create some weaknesses on the queen side, perhaps. But instead, the bishop is moving to b7, and now white is going to push the knight to g4, and then all sorts of sacrifices are going to get in the position. So I'm really scared of the black position, and there's been a lot of games where black was overwhelmed by all the sacrifices that white had at its disposition in this line. So yeah, I really like white's position. Objectively, black should have still good chances, but it's really hard to defend.
Yeah, I agree. So we will see how white will go on with this attack on the king side. Yeah, seems like doing well, and we'll see if black is able to counterattack on the queen side. But now it's time to move to another board, and I'm not sure if I picked the right board, but Roland will give us all the information. Here with the white pieces we have Lebayoa Tsefe, might be the female maybe, against Callistus Aitong Ran, with the black pieces.
All right, that's indeed the youth board. So board 5 is what we are now looking at. And the ratings are very different from what you see here. The official rating for the player from Nigeria is actually 2034. One of the big reasons why I think that Nigeria has a good chance to promote to the next division. And the player from Lesotho has a rating of 1698. So almost 350 rating difference. Yeah. Don't ever do math on stream, guys. It will always go wrong.
Yes. Let's have a look shortly at the opening, because it's always nice to try to recognize from which opening is this position coming from. And yeah, this was a ready opening. Oh, I play myself this line. Something similar, mostly with the pawn on g3. But I like this line with black. Okay, let's come back to the current position. And yeah, but now it's pretty different from what I expected. So there is e4 was the last move played, and it's clear that white wants to take control of the center, probably pushing also the pawn on d4, putting the rook in the center. And this is called, I think, Carsbon structure with black, with the pawn on c6 and e6. And mostly means that white has a good space advantage. I think d4, no, not d4, maybe bishop e3 followed by d4. Also d4 is playable, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think both plans are more or less fine. The big problem of black's position is the bishop on c8. If it stays there, it's going to be passive for the longest time in the position. So for a move like d4 would be perfect, because the only way for the bishop to get active at the moment, if black plays the move e5, so d4 stops the move e5. So
Yeah, definitely. And just to show some tactics, bishop take d4 is not working, because after knight take and queen take, it seems like black won a pawn, but bishop e3 is winning back some material, probably. After not.
I don't think so yet, but those dark squares are going to be extremely, extremely difficult to take care of. So yeah, bishop e3, queen d8. It saves the piece.
d1, rook c7. Yeah, I mean, it's still very, very good for white here.
Absolutely.
And there is a lot of compensation for that pawn.
So much compensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, overflowing with compensation for white.
All right, so let's go to the current position. b4, a take b, bishop take, and bishop e7. That's the current position. Again, white will probably try to grab even more space, playing d4, and should be pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I still think it's comfortable, but I do think that black has achieved something here because the a3 pawn is now kind of a weakness in white's position. So yeah, it's definitely looking better than before, and exchanging the dark squared bishops. Okay, that might be good for white. That might not be a bad idea. But on the other hand, the bishop on c8 still has ideas connected with e5 at some point to get into the position. But on the other hand, the bishop on c8 is also not in the way of any rooks, for example. The rook on a8 now has a file to work with on a8. So yeah, the bishop is not as bad on c8 as it was before.
Yeah. Yeah, so we will see how it will go on if black will be able to use the a file or to do some pushes with his pawn like c5 or e5. Clearly they are not possible now, but it might help black to open up the position and to help this bishop to find a way, find a purpose of life. And let's see if this will happen. So now let's move to another board. It might be a junior board already. Here we have with the white pieces Mr. of Miss. Maybe it's a Miss. Might be Miss. I guess he's Miss, so I will say Miss P. Samson against Miss Lalali Mac person with the black pieces. And the position, what is this position? Oh. Black has bishop pair, and does he have extra pawn? Yes, black has bishop pair and one extra pawn, so there is a rook attacked, but I think that black can simply move it. So I would say that black is for sure better here due to the extra pawn, and also due to the better pawn structure. f3 might be the king side is still very weak, so I guess here black is doing really good.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, well, black is also a pawn up yet. I've got the bishop pair. White has a strong knight on c5 though. That is quite annoying. The knight on c5 is also attacking the a6 pawn. So I'm not 100% sure how big black's advantage is. I mean, if the black bishop, for example, can go to d5 at some point, then without any problems, then black is of course definitely better with a huge advantage. But yeah, with the knight on c5, it does complicate matters a little bit. I do think that black's of course better. The question is if black has already a winning advantage. With the knight on c5, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, let's say to black not to play rook a8 because I think that knight c7 might be very good. So not sure what should be black next move. Maybe rook e7.
Rook e7 looks normal. I guess, yeah, rook a8 is not possible to win back the pawn on a2. So actually, I think that bishop d5 was a mistake. I think giving up the a6 pawn is a free pawn for white.
Yeah, I mean it's true that yeah, black has some tempo now, but not sure if just knight back to c6. I mean if white would make a normal move, rook a8 now is a threat, winning the a2 pawn back. But now is not. White has time to play just knight c5 and after rook e8 just a6. So
Yeah,
white is not a pawn up.
yeah. Now it's equal material again. One plan that white does need to be careful of if the black starts opening the position, for example, with a move like e5 at some point. After e5, it's going to be quite hard to deal with the threats if the e file starts getting open, especially with the bishop on h4. But okay, white plays knight b4. Now e5 would be a huge blunder, of course, losing the bishop on d5. But just play bishop b7 back, and maybe on the next move play e5, if possible. I think that white is definitely still worse, but I think that it's definitely within drawing margins now. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So maybe time to move to another game here. Let's see. Okay, this game was not yet started. Here we okay. I'm curious to see if the game where the international master was. Yes, so this might be the first board where Tokelo class had problem with connection probably because no first move was played for more than 3-4 minutes. So, but here we have. Let's see shortly the opening. Okay. Oh, it entered in a Caracan. From d4, they end up to be in a Caracan, and
Uh-huh.
I would say a weird Caracan.
It's a weird move for the yeah, but and also, yeah, with the move e6, we've got a very weird Caracan indeed. Yeah,
Yeah,
six
because
e6. Yep.
yeah, mostly the idea of the Caracan is a
Oh,
bit different from the French. Is that you want to play c6 in order to get out to go out with the bishop. And in fact here the main line is exactly bishop f5 in order to bring out this bishop b4 playing a6. So it's very weird to play a Caracan with e6 here because it seems that
yeah.
you say okay, I will white, you will be better just for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I agree. E6 is not really not the most common move in theory there, but black is following it up with a nice strategy. Basically, what black is doing is transposing to some sort of exchange French, where black takes the pawn on e4 at some point. So that is okay, but c6 would then not be necessary. Usually, you want to push the c pawn immediately to c5. So yeah, weird opening, but the how he played after that is actually quite good. And I actually think that in the current position, black might be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, black is definitely better. So weird opening, but great follow-up by Mombasa or Mr. Bunmi Olape from Nigeria. I think that is his Chess.com username, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, looking good for black. So yeah, once again, if you have a solid strategy and but a weird opening, then you can still make the best out of it. Though it's not games are not decided in the opening, but in the middle game or in the end game usually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just an extremely high level, a bad opening choice could be already fatal, but for sure we are going still to see fights and to see a game, and this is exactly an example. After a bad opening choice for black, uh, yeah, black knew how to put his pieces, how to which breakthrough to look to go for. So it did this his moves is followed these plans and they got a good position out of the opening. So that's good. And here we are in this end game. Would you quote? We are at quoting now. How would you quote that black chance to win here?
How would I quote? I guess it's not dynamically balanced, I believe. I believe that if that's what you were going for, I think that white is actually a lot worse. Although the pawn that he just took, I think that is a free pawn. I don't see exactly how black can make use of any tactics in this position. I was thinking maybe e5 would win back the pawn, but after e5, white has simply knight e2, still protecting everything. Um, yeah, so it is a free pawn for now. I do think that black still has a lot of compensation. For example, g6, f5 should be more or less okay for black. So there's no man overboard, but losing that pawn is a bit of a pity, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, no. 92 is the best move. Then probably, I would say black needs to play g6. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah. And do you know the new engine Lila?
Yeah, I use it for my own analysis, yes.
Oh, and so what is basically an one of the main difference is that it's not giving like a number plus minus 2.75 or whatsoever, but is giving an evaluation of the position according to percentage. So like how big is the percentage of white to win in this position, how big is the chance the position end up in a draw, and how big is the percentage that black is going to win. So uh, let's say that you are Lila now. What would give the evaluation in this position?
Okay, let's see. I think, well, also, if I take player strength and titles into the equation, I would say that black still has a very good chance to win this. The bishop on h3 is a very bad piece at the moment, while the bishop on c5 especially is so great. Also, the bishop on e4 looks great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, still think black has very good chances to win this. How to continue? That is more or less the question. I believe that a move like rook b4 would be good, with the idea that after rook c1 and bishop d3, just try to collect the c4 pawn. I think that would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to suggest rook c2, but after rook c1, then probably you have to change rooks, and that's something you usually do not want when you have the bishop pair. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But yeah, that could be the c4 pawn is a target here. That's what black should go for.
And yeah, might be that we have already, I mean, already this plan is really working because, oh yeah, actually g3 was a huge blunder due to bishop f3,
Yeah, yeah,
pinning the
yeah.
knight. Now after rook e1, maybe bishop b4.
Maybe bishop b4. Yeah, looks extremely good for black now. Already winning back material, it seems.
So
After you do have no, I'm trying to save white's position in my head, but I don't think I can. There are no tricks, no. I wanted to maybe get the knight to a kinky square, but I don't think it actually works. So
yeah,
no, I
because
think this is more or less over. I think black is winning.
hmm
Yeah.
yes, and white has to take care about the first rank because he cannot just move the knight somewhere because attention, rook b1 is also a possibility. And after
Mhm.
knight c3, probably rook c2 is just winning.
I think so. Yeah, rook c2 should win a piece. If you could also play rook takes f2, winning that pawn, and then win h2.
Yeah, sure.
Should be
Maybe
also
rook
good
take
enough.
f2 is really the easiest way to win here.
I think both are fine. When you have two choices to win, always take the easiest one. I say. So yeah, but it's a matter of taste. This one looks easy enough at least. So
Yeah.
all right, that means probably it's time to move on to another game. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And let's see if we find some other game of this match. Yes, this was the yes, we discussed this game previously. This is the game, might be the second board between the candidate master Olubafemi against Malo Pyong. It was a King's Indian attack in the French, and here White managed to be an exchange up, and White has still great chances to attack on the king side. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what
Well,
about this position?
well, I'm not sure how quickly white can win on the king side, but yeah, because the queen is very active on d5, it can protect, for example, g7 with queen e5, queen g7, it more or less protects everyone. But yeah, at the same time, white's simple exchange up and should just be winning. It's too much material. Although the bishop on e3 is quite strong, and let's see if black can, for example, push the pawns on the queen side, then there might be some problems, but I think it's over now because the pawn on a7 will fall, and black doesn't really have any counterplay yet. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
should be close to over. Although I would like to see black try a move like c4 at some point to try and make
yeah.
things a little more complicated. Because
But
if
maybe
how the
white
more
can
pawn,
take one time and then
yeah,
put the rook
a rook
just on the
b1.
b file.
Yeah, that's a good reaction. Yeah, I wanted to maybe play rook c5 then to make it complicated, but yeah, you're right. This should definitely be a good position for white.
Actually, white
It's
can also take twice. I mean, yeah, should not be a huge problem. Although,
a lot of pawns are being traded though. It's not over yet. I mean,
yeah.
white does still have to keep some pawns to win the game, because if you don't, then
Okay, I
it's
have
gonna
a
be a lot
question.
harder.
What about I would be maybe it would be just stupid, but I would be rook take e3.
Rook takes e3. Oof.
I mean, the idea is
Um,
that probably the pawn on e3 might fall, but the problem might be that the
yeah,
a pawn will be very fast.
I think so too. Well, not because it's fast, but the a pawn is you cannot save the c pawn, I believe, and two pawns on the king side would not be good enough. So
Yeah,
yeah, but it's good to look at those things. If you can get a winning rook ending, then why not go for it? So,
yeah,
but it's
but
better to keep the rooks on the board. I think rook e2 was a good move.
yeah, but it's not the simple, the easier way to get there. So if you're not sure 100%, you should never take forcing line where you can't come back. So don't give up a rook for a bishop if you are not absolutely sure that is working.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you always go for the easier solution, I say. So if you calculate, but then it's easy to make a mistake when you calculate, and then suddenly the result could change. So just play it safe. Just don't go over calculation more or less.
Yes.
But yeah, this was board two, where this board is looking over now. White won an extra pawn. And now, for example, if you can exchange a rook for the bishop on e3 and a pawn on d4, it should be winning. But I don't think white even has to do that. Just activate your rooks and you should be winning. So
Yeah.
yeah, very easy win, I think, if white plays correctly.
Yes, all right. Okay, here we have an interesting. I just switched to, might be the junior board. By the way, is between Labayo Tsepe against Callistus Aitongan. And yeah, it is an endgame with pawn plus knight. Sorry, and yeah, black it looks very dangerous. There are two pawns per player, but e3 pawn looks very dangerous. So the question is this enough to win this endgame or not?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's hard to judge that. At first, I would say no. I don't think it's enough to win. Also, because the king on g2 is nicely close to the e3 pawn. So, for example, if you play e2 as black, then you could play simply king f2, I believe, and you would be okay. So, yeah, you could also maybe sacrifice your knight. That might also be good enough. I like king f2 though. I don't think black can.
King
Well, if
f2, for
so,
example, knight f3.
if knight f3, then I have knight f4 check, and I can grab the e2 pawn.
True.
One thing I'm wondering though is after king f2, you have knight e4 check, and after
Yes.
king e1, only move, black has knight takes g3, winning a pawn. So yeah, that I don't think king f2 is the smartest way to go here, perhaps. Not sure what then. This is looking quite complicated, actually. Okay, okay, now we're going to the fun stuff. Knight f4 and knight takes e2. Is that a draw?
Good question. It seems like it's not a draw, at least according to our evaluation next to the board. But yeah, could be a draw if white is able to change one pawn.
Yeah, black is not going to allow that, of course.
Yeah, because even if white play g4, g5, black can play h5 and keep the pawn.
It looks winning for black. I don't think you can exchange that pawn. For example, if you play,
Let's say g4 here.
yeah, g4, just knight e4, just taking control over the king and over the pawn. So, and if you play g5, then just play h5, and I think you're just going to collect every pawn there. So
yeah, but maybe also knight f3 can be good here, no?
Knight f3.
Because if g4, you take on h4 with check, and then pawn take h take g5. So this is my.
I think it's good enough too. The problem might be king g3 there instead of g5, but you could play let's see, g5 there. A king e3, then g5, and after h5, g6. It looks a bit more complicated, but I think it also
e5
should
is
be
good because g7 is not possible, and
Yeah.
then will be followed by knight f5, king f4, going to grab the h5. Yeah, also this is winning, but there are many ways. But yeah, we realize that this endgame is not winning. I mean, yeah, this endgame is winning for black, so white cannot just give up the knight for the pawn. So
so white is in deep trouble. Maybe the best way to go is actually to play king f2 anyways, instead of sacrificing the knight.
but look what a nice move we have on the board, king h3. With the idea, basically it's the same idea, but the king is much better because after promotion we have knight g2, and yeah, white is still has to sacrifice a knight, but the king is more near to the pawn.
Yeah. Really, really nice move. Really nice move from Tsepfe. Let's see. Wow, that is actually pretty impressive for a 1600 player.
Yeah, I mean, we're it's either impressive or it was random.
It could be random. I don't know. I think it's well calculated.
But we believe in them, and so we say that this is impressive. So great endgame technique, because yeah, it was not easy at all to figure out all this. So, but let's see how it's going on.
Yeah, well, it looks now like an easy draw because the king is going to collect the h pawn. There's nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing black can do about it. So
yeah.
Let's see. After king h3, knight f3 played. So I guess just king g4. Just king g4 looks like a draw.
Yes.
Or is it? Ah, okay. I've got some. No, I don't. Okay. I thought I had a nice idea, but doesn't work.
Like to give a check to the king while
it does. Yeah, knight e5 check. And then where do you go with the king?
King h5.
King f2.
Okay, it's time to take the pawn maybe.
But then I have e1 queen.
Oh, that's true. But no, I take the pawn.
Oh, you take the pawn, obviously. You simply take the pawn. Yeah, then it's an easy draw. It's such an easy draw. Yeah.
So, but yeah, could be a trick. White thinks, okay, I have always the check. I have the check, but then suddenly you don't have the check anymore.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, some update on the results. You can also see that on the left of us, we have some updated results for you. So Nigeria now leading 3-0. So they at least have a draw in this match. against the co-leader Lesotho. So yeah, Nigeria going strong.
Yeah, so, and they are also, yeah, they will probably win here because this game that we are looking is exactly from this match, and yeah, should be a draw, should be a draw, and Nigeria is the basically the only player that could win this game. So I guess this match is pretty clear. And there are also, the news is that there are also very few games still playing. So
That's
let's have a look at other games. Okay, this is a very pretty close to the end. It's a game of the match, Mauritania against Sudan, where okay, Black is just winning, so we will not even focus on this match.
Yeah, unless you want to tell everybody how to mate with a queen and king.
Well, yeah, we could say actually to everyone.
Or we could just show the game. I think it will happen anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would be fun though. I guess there's also, I think there's an interesting rook ending going on. Yeah, with stalemate, we should go there. Yeah. It's Nigeria. Oh no! So I'm looking at this game between Peace Samson versus
Okay,
Malay
I'm there.
person.
I'm there.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a draw, but White had a winning move on move 72. What is the winning move there?
oh, check, clearly.
73, excuse me, 73.
Yes, rook f8 check and then take the rook.
Yeah, instead a dramatic stalemate. Yeah, it's
Dramatic soulmate.
yeah, yeah, it is right.
It's dramatic, that's
Victory
true.
was near, but then suddenly it was a draw without any uh, prejudiced thought or something. Trying to use fancy English words to make it more.
Yeah, very fancy way.
Very
Yes.
fancy way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly a draw, but somehow. Yeah, it was a really boom, 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 boom. Why is here a draw now? Why is now a draw?
I think Black has a crazy rook, and I don't think that White can get out of it.
Okay, but there are pawns that are going to promote. Ah, king, rook 8, rook g6 check is the way.
Yeah, simply rook g6, and the king is stuck. The king cannot go anywhere to defend against any rook check. So yeah, it was a draw for Black, but then yeah, Black stopped checking, and then it was a win again for White, and then yeah, then big mistake, king takes h6. That's how it went.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a bit confused. Okay, Roland, let's see this together. Rook g6 check, king f5. Where are you going to give check again? You can.
I'm just gonna take the rook on the pawn on h6.
That's true. That's true. You're right.
And if you go to h5 with the king, then you can also take the pawn, but maybe it's easier to just play rook g5 and give checks over the g file. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's
easy draw. Well, not so easy it turns out, but hey, it worked out. So yeah, well done by yeah, McPherson.
yes. Well done. Good game. So we are now going to see soon the results of Pool C round 3 and of the round 1 of Pool D. But yes, and this is the last round before a bigger break for us, because we are not going to cover the second round of Pool D. We are going to have a short break after this after this round. And we are going to be back in 1 hour for the last part of the Pool D and to see the full Pool E, the fight that we are going to have. So,
okay.
I guess we are waiting for some results. Yeah, we have already some.
We are currently waiting for some results and, of course, the standings. Yeah, we can take a quick look at the results that we have so far. They will be updated soon, but what we can tell, for example, is that Nigeria officially won their match against Lesotho, and Malawi won their match against Eswatini, and the other results are not in there yet. Ethiopia at least has a draw against Oman. They should have, of course, they still have a chance to win, but we'll have to see. Second result as well between Mauritania and Sudan. Mauritania winning with 3.5, 2.5, so they also get the full points in this pool. Yeah, what are your first thoughts now if you grab all the games together and the current results so far? Who is doing very well and who is struggling in this pool so far, Alessia?
Well, I mean, as you said, we had a huge surprise in Pool A, I think, because Myanmar, that was supposed to do great, is actually not doing so great. Instead, here, Lebanon is doing quite convincing. According to the scoreboard of the last round, here we have, this is the scoreboard before the last round. Lebanon is also, I mean, there are 4 teams with full point: Nigeria, Lebanon, Lesotho, and Mauritania. And at the end of this round, not this, sorry, but this, we can see that Lebanon probably won, and yes, the results are updated. So Lebanon won against Cameroon 4.5 to 1.5. Also, Mauritania won 3.5 to 2.5 against Sudan. And Nigeria, of course, won against Lesotho. We followed this match. So basically, what does it mean? That Lebanon, Mauritania, and Nigeria are currently leading this Pool C Division 4. Are those the teams that are going to qualify? I don't know, but we are going to see that.
Yeah, obviously. We'll be here all weekend checking, of course, the results there. Yeah, but Lebanon, just going straight. I've actually got noticed that we've got the full standings for Pool C. So let's show everyone who is what the actual current standings are. I believe that Nigeria is also nicely on top with the same board points and the same match point as Mauritania and Lebanon. So yeah, I think Lebanon, Nigeria, for me, 2 of the favorites actually in this pool. They have a high average rating compared to the others, and Mauritania, coming from the base division, doing very well as well. I did not expect Mauritania to be on second place after the first round. So yeah, they are the surprise, I believe, in this pool so far. So yeah, very exciting stuff. Of course, it's not over. We are done with Pool C though, but if I'm not mistaken, with Pool C we are done, and we will be back, of course, tomorrow with Pool C again when we will have round 4 through 6. But for now, we are going on a break. We will be back in 1 hour for Pool.
Actually, Roland, before going to a break, let's also show the results of Pool D, because they were also playing the first round.
Of course.
And when we will be in the break, they are going to play the second round. So let's show everyone the results of round first and also the pairings for second round. Here we have Haiti won against Liberia 4-2. Suriname is currently leading against Ghana 2.5. Probably there are still some game playing. Puerto Rico is 3.5. Okay, everything is updated now. So Suriname won against Ghana, and also Puerto Rico won against Netherlands Antilles. Instead, Angola and Palestine won 6-0 against Senegal and Togo. So for them was a quite straight first round, and these teams are going to fight against during our break for the round 2, and here we have the pairings. So what do you think could be the favorite in this pool?
Yeah, I think Angola is one of the teams definitely to take a look at, and others are Suriname, Puerto Rico. And yeah, there's an exciting match actually going on in round two, which is Suriname versus Puerto Rico. I'm very curious what that result will be when we come back from our break. And otherwise, Haiti actually. Yeah, a great holiday resort and also a great country in itself. I'm really wondering how they will fare in this pool. They were also a qualifier from the base division, but on paper, they are still one of the favorites, even in this base four division pool. So, yeah, those are the countries I think we should look at in Pool D. And yeah, I.
Yes, I think that we are ready for it a short break. We will be back in less than 1 hour to comment over the result of the round two and to go on because we are going to see the last result, the last round of Pool D, and then we are going off to have three exciting rounds of Pool E. So guys, take a short break, get some food, grab some water, and see you in less than 1 hour for last three rounds.